Welcome to another Demarcation Media Dust It Off video. It's been a while since I did one of these, and I've actually been working on this one for too long. And when I say working, I mean like doing tiny little bits here and there. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be painting a Mega Construx figure. Now, I'm not one of the really good customizers out there. I just kind of do little bits here and there. But I thought it would be fun to just see what we can make. And I had almost an entire video about customizing a Spartan done, and then I lost all that footage to a corrupt memory card, which is very, very unfortunate. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be making an ODST. So we're going to be taking this desert ODST here. This is from the Bronze Cobra drop pod, and I had two of these, and one of them had a really poorly printed visor. So we are going to be adding one of LS3D's custom heads to make this just a little bit better, and then we are going to be painting it. I've actually already started the process, and I started with spray painting it. So what we're doing here is painting just certain sections of the armor. The forearms and the thigh armor are going to be mostly left as is. We might add a little bit of detail in there, but for the most part, they're just gonna stay the flat silver that they came. And then we're spray painting the rest of the armor because I find that's a really easy way to get a nice even coverage that's also really durable. However, there is one major problem with spray painting, and I wanna make sure I put this at the very beginning. If you spray paint a normal Mega figure's head, the paint will never dry. It will stay like tacky and sticky, and the head will actually be softer. So don't ever do that. That's why I'm using one of LS3D's heads. It's made of a harder material that actually accepts the spray paint a whole lot better. And then the result is this. So there we go. That is the just spray painted version. So we did all the pieces that you saw, and again, leaving the forearms and the thigh plates just as is. And for supplies, we have a big old rag for cleaning paintbrushes. We have a couple of paintbrushes here, differing sizes. There's like this thicker one, and then I have a thinner one as well. But I also have an absolute ton of paintbrushes on hand as well. Then we have a thing of water. Of course, we need that to clean our paintbrushes. And then we are using the I don't actually know how to pronounce that name, but this is a fairly big name in model kit painting. So this is a black gray, so it's not a straight black, it's kind of a dark gray. So that's going to be a big part of what we're doing. And then we have a tester's little like copper color, and I'm going to use this for the visor. I've actually already done an ODST. Well, it's not really an ODST, I guess. It's more like a Spartan. But I've done a copper visor already, and I really, really, really like how it looks. And I think the copper against the dark blue will be a super nice contrast. Makes the visor really pop, and I like it when visors for figures really pop. And it just makes the figure recognizable. You just kind of know what you're looking at. So let's get in a little closer, and I'll tell you my game plan for this. So as you can see, there's a couple spots on here that don't look fully painted. That's where I clamped the little alligator clip to hold this guy onto my little rig for spray painting. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take the that black gray, and we're just going to go ahead and paint that on there in just a second. So we're going to cover that up. We're going to cover up this here and also the knees. Probably going to paint the toe caps as well, because typically those are a different color. I'm going to do a little bit of detailing on the chest. Obviously that attachment on the helmet is going to need some paint as well, and probably this little thing here. Around the back, same deal. We have that little bit of just bare plastic where the alligator clip was, and we're going to paint that as well. And then we are going to do the visor probably last, and if I see fit, we might add some silver detailing here and there as well. But that's generally the game plan. Might do a little bit of detailing on the sniper shoulder as well, but we'll see. We're gonna start with covering up these little bare sections. So there's our start. You can see we're going for a very, very low contrast look here. The gray and the blue are super similar, which I actually really wanted here. We've started the kneecaps. Definitely going to need a little bit more here and there just to clean up the edges, but it's a good start. We've done some up there. You can see a little bit more there. And then also around the back, adding in some detail. I think probably we will do some silver as like a way to highlight the buckles there, something like that. But right now what we got to do is we have to let it dry for a little bit before we can start again, because the worst thing, and something I'm really prone to doing, is trying to go too fast and then smearing the paint that you have that's still drying. Can't tell you how many times I've done that. So we're gonna let this dry for a little bit and then come back for round 2. So now the figure has dried a little bit. This paint sets really quick, which is one of the reasons why I really like it. You don't have to wait hours and hours before you're able to paint again. So now we're gonna continue on just adding the details in the sections that we've already painted, just cleaning up the edges, that sort of thing. Alrighty, a quick little stop to check the progress. Looking pretty good so far. The more we kind of layer on the paint, the more visible it is becoming, which is good. I just want to make sure it doesn't pop out too much. And then we'll look around the back. You can see that a little bit more. Looking really nice. I'm loving this color combo. It's really, really cool. I mean, I'm kind of biased because it's essentially the color combo of my Sig Fig Spartan, just kind of mixed up a little bit, and it's also the colors of the armor that I'm making for my Project ODST series, which there will be another video of soon. But this is kind of a mega representation of what that armor might look like. I'm not modding the helmet like this though, so that's the real difference. But yeah, I'm liking how this is coming so far. So we're just gonna keep at it. Next, we need to add details onto the chest, and then on the toe caps as well, and then onto the helmet. So that's going to be the next steps. Taking a little break again to let the paint dry. This is coming out really good so far. We added the little stripes here and here. Decided to do the whole like midsection gray as well to kind of help balance how much gray is going to be on the feet. We don't want to have all of the color lumped up in one area. That's part of the thing about painting, is you have to figure out how to balance your colors as well. So I think having the toe caps gray
and the midsection gray helps a lot to balance it. And then of course we have the top part is balanced out by that big, I don't even actually know what that is, the add-on for that. So that's pretty cool. It's coming out really, really good. I'm liking this a lot so far. I've moved the figure up onto a Figma stand. Figma stands are really good. Actually, just in general with Mega, they're super compatible. The peg hole is, or the peg on the end of the stand is the same as the peg hole on the figure's backs. You can make them hold the end if you want to. I find them super, super helpful. This is actually a bootleg Figma stand, I believe, or I don't remember. I have a bunch of them. Some of them were from a couple bootleg Figmas that I've gotten. Some of them were not. So I have one that is my dedicated painting stand. So that's going to help a lot with his feet, which is what we are going to work on right now. Now for reference, I don't actually thin my paints at all. I buy paints that I specifically don't really have to thin. I mean, maybe I could thin them, but I don't, and I've never had any issues with not thinning them. I don't know, it's just never something I've really done. And I know a lot of people, a lot of customizers will tell you, you know, thin your paints. And for a lot of paints, that is true, you should. However, for these paints, never ever had a reason to thin them, which is pretty nice actually. Now, as I'm looking at it, I kind of want some gray on the forearms. So we're going to just add a little bit on here. Okay. It's a little hard for me to see from a distance if I covered all of it. It looks like I'm gonna have to add a little bit more, but I want to cover the whole little like calm thingy that's on the forearm, whatever that is exactly, just so that we've got some, again, color balancing going on. So yeah, I'm gonna have to work on that more up close, but for the moment that's looking pretty good. The toe caps are looking pretty good. So now I think what we need to do is start adding our accent color. So here is our accent color. It looks really red here, and it's not actually this red. It looks like a clay color, but what it comes out to is this kind of brown color. And I think that will pair nicely with this blue. And since we're doing a copper visor, I think it'll provide a nice kind of in-between to get from the blue to the copper. So we are going to give it a shot if I can get this paint thing open. Yeah, color-wise that looks pretty good. It's hard to put these small details on while I'm on the other side of the camera, but that looks pretty good. I'm liking that. So I think I'm on it on this side as well, on this like big block. Oh, I'm not getting nearly enough paint on my brush. I need more than that. Let's try this again. That's the problem with the thin brush. So this is actually a pretty good example. Sometimes the brush that you're using is just the wrong one. You just need a different size. So in this case, we're going to make sure that we clean off the brush thoroughly because we don't want to ruin it. And then I'm going to get a different brush. I have a whole bunch right on hand, and I think we are going to try that one to see if it does any better. The thin tip a lot of times will collect the paint more towards the middle of the brush, or the middle of the bristles, and that's not helpful for us at all. So we're just gonna use this instead. Yeah, something like that. And I think I might do brown on these little guys here. Again, add a paint. There we go. I don't think that there's enough brown on this shoulder. Often what I will do is I will look for the detail that's already molded into the arm, and then I'll paint that. So, or just mold it into whatever I'm painting. I might add a little bit more to that in a minute, but for now, I want to add a bit to the helmet here. I'm debating on doing the stripe on his head, the brown color, but I also kind of don't want to fight with that. Oh, that was not good. Luckily, we can fix that pretty easily. These small details, though, they're difficult to get. Something like that, though. Maybe do a little bit on this round. Like that. Yep. Now I gotta fix that overspill. Okay, so I touched up the sections that needed it. I decided to actually just go ahead and do the full stripe down the shoulder, just because that's kind of how the piece is. So to flow with the piece, it needed the whole stripe. I added a little bit to the knees here. You can see a little bit right there and a little bit right there, just to help keep things balanced. Did some more here and here. So now that arm has a decent bit. And then touched up the section where I went over on the helmet. So now I'm going to let this really dry, like set dry. This paint dries pretty quick. However, it doesn't necessarily set really quick, so it can be a little bit fragile and a little bit soft still. So you kind of have to leave it for a good few hours at least. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this for a few hours, possibly overnight. But for you guys, obviously, it's going to be a split second. So we'll be back in a little bit to start adding more details. I think the straps here and here, maybe some panel lining, and then the visor. So the project has taken a bit of a hard right in terms of how we're going to go about this. So I kind of ruined the first head. I really botched the visor and then ended up snapping pieces off the helmet in my attempt to clean it up, and then I lost the head. So yeah, that went really poorly. So I attempted to do this one here, what you see right here, and it didn't work either. I put too much spray paint on and it got gloppy, so then I had to remove it, and I decided, you know what? For the sake of being able to paint over the small mess ups, I am going to paint the whole thing gray to match the like detail work that I put on the body, put some brown on there, and what we're gonna attempt to do is mask off part of the top of the head and then spray paint a blue stripe there to kind of tie it all together. Yeah, it's been really rough. Really rough and very discouraging, and it happens. Like this is not uncommon for any project, any creative project really. You come up against speed bumps, so to speak. Yeah, so the paint finish right now is a bit more rough than I wanted it to be. That just comes from the fact that I had to strip all the paint off before, and it just leaves a little bit of residue. Yeah, I'm hoping that this works. I'm kind of nervous about doing the spray paint, but I don't know. I guess we'll just see how it turns out. So my plan worked. I'm so glad that this actually worked. I was really afraid I was just gonna ruin it again. So I managed to get the visor done. End result is, honestly, I'm a lot happier with it than I thought I would be. seriously, this was the roughest part of this whole project. I was this close to just calling it quits and starting a new one. But no, it turned out pretty good, and I did a few things to fix it up. I know a lot of that happened off camera, and I really wanted to show as much of it as possible, but things were just spiraling so badly, I had to just try and fix it as best I could. So what I did was I painted the front of the belt gray and a little bit of the groin armor there gray, to kind of offset the more gray that we've got now for the head, which I think turned out pretty good. And then the visor outline was done with panel liner pens, Gundam panel liner pens. Painted a little bit of brown on there, painted a little bit of brown around the back, more panel liner stuff. Just did a little dab of silver on the light to make that pop. And then the stripe on the head was done by masking off the whole top of the head. So I did masking tape here. Now I sealed it first. I sealed the other paint before doing this top stripe, just because, you know, there's a lot that could go wrong with that, you know, paint pulling off and whatnot. And it worked super well. I was so happy with that. So now we have one more step, and that step is the wash. So we have the wash right here. No, it's not orange jelly. It is paint. I mixed up this with this, so it's like a lighter brown and a darker brown, and then a little bit of black, and then mix it with water until it's kind of slushy. Now I did have another wash that was made using like floor polish and paint. However, that turned into a hard, stinky block. Don't really know what went wrong there, but yeah, so that's unusable. So we are going to go ahead and apply this wash. This is a brown wash, and I think that will stand out decently well against this guy. So I think I'm gonna go ahead, well, I won't put him on the stand yet. We will put him on the stand, but not yet. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get a little bit of this, and you can see this is really soupy, like really soupy. We don't want it to be too thick. I might have taken too much of this off. Oh no, there we go. So we're gonna just cover him up. Just cover him up. It's gonna look like too much at first. It's okay. We're gonna clean it up. We are going to clean it up, and I need another sponge brush. So now we're gonna sponge it off, kind of do like that. We need to make sure that there is not too much. Too much will ruin this project. But this stuff is more easily cleaned because we put so much water. And it's a very imprecise process. Basically, washes are just like, you do what looks good until you've got enough of it done. And it's a little hard to see in this light that I've got. Maybe I can turn up this one a little bit. There we go. But yeah, essentially we're just trying to make him look muddied up, all dirty. We don't want it globbing up too much in one place. I'm liking this so far. How's the head look? The stripe, I really want the stripe to be visible. Around the back, not bad. Let's get a little dab more, put it on the back here. Back of the arm. This arm got barely any, so we're gonna put more there. Now we got more on the back piece, so we're gonna just dab that off. It also kind of adds a little bit of depth to the figure, just because it gets in the cracks and crevices a little bit, and kind of helps make those details pop. And I mean, this is an ODST, so he's been in the dirt, he's been in the grime, he's been through hell, basically. That's what the ODSTs do. So put it there, and then I'm going to do more like on the bottom of his feet, because if he's like the We Are ODST trailer, they're going through like mud and stuff, so that's kind of the general idea here. Let's see, on the back, just do a little modifying of that. I think this is good. I did a couple more things off camera just to make some final adjustments. I redid the visor outline with panel liner pen, because what this wash did and what brown washes tend to do is basically it reduces the contrast between stuff, so it kind of flattens it all with this dirt look, which is what happens with dirt. You know, when you get covered in dirt, you just kind of look like dirt instead of actual person. So that makes sense, and that's fine, but I lost some contrast in a couple of places, the visor outline in particular, but a little bit on the chest plate, so I added some panel lines there. Other than that, I think we're ready for the final top coat. Washes dry really fast since they're primarily water. The paint dries super quick. So yeah, we're ready to go. Let's go finish this up. So one final change of plans. I was going to use my typical matte sealer, but instead I'm going to give this Mod Podge a try. I'm kind of worried that the matte sealer would take away all the contrast that's left on this guy, and I don't want him completely flat. I want to be able to see the difference between the blue and the gray details, which it's already a little tough to see that as it is, and I'm fine with how it is, but if we did the matte sealer, that would probably ruin that. So what we're gonna do is use Mod Podge. Now typically I use spray Mod Podge, however I don't have that on hand, and this video needs to be finished, so we are going to try the paint on Mod Podge and hope and pray, oh my word, that, holy crap, what is happening? The seal is disintegrating. Oh my, holy moly, good grief. Yeah, we're going to hope and pray that this does not ruin our project. This is going to be great trying to work with glue and working with the camera at the same time. Hopefully we can get this to work. Okay, here goes nothing. Dab some of that off and we'll start on the shoulder. So it adds detail back in for sure, but I'm not sure about the finish. We're probably going to be left with brush strokes, and I don't think I like that. Now, we don't need much. This is really just to keep the wash in place because we have the paint underneath sealed. So that's not really a problem, but yeah, I'm not sure about that just yet. See, we've got, oh, you might not be able to see in this light. It's a lot of this stuff you can see in person and you can't see on camera. That's part of why I've been so reluctant to do a painting video, but that's not too bad. It's very glossy, so maybe I can put a layer of this on and then do a matte seal. I don't know yet. Not totally sure how this is turning out. It's not gonna lie, I'm quite nervous. I'm so close to the end here and everything could get totally ruined here. Like actually just ruined if this doesn't go very well. I mean, it's not looking bad. I'm just not sure how like the macro finish is gonna be with the like texturing here. It's also hard not to get too much on my brush. Oh, the head scares me. I've been struggling with this head for so long. Okay. I'm trying to keep it in focus as much as I can, but it's a little bit difficult because I can't look at the camera while I'm painting this. He's very shiny. Like, this is very glossy. More glossy than I was expecting, to be honest. So I think this will allow me to do a matte coat. to kind of even out the finish because this gloss is too much gloss. Okay, I think that's all the Mod Podge we're gonna do. I don't actually know how long this takes to dry. What does it say? I'm sorry, what? Cures in 4 weeks? I didn't read that part. 4 weeks? Okay, I don't know that we necessarily need that since we're using it more for its finish. I didn't think about that. I didn't read that. Probably should have read that. But yeah, we're gonna let it dry, and when he's not sticky, I might just go ahead and do the matte coat and call it done. All right, let's do this final layer of sealant. I am walking away from my house so that I don't have to worry about fumes. Set him down here. This is what we're using, matte finish. Oh, I need to get this off with one hand. I didn't think about that. There we go. Fingers crossed this doesn't ruin the figure. All right, here we go. Okay. Get one more little bit from down over here. I think that's good. Now we gotta wait for this to dry and we will take a look at the final result. So this is what we started with. Just your standard bronze Cobra ODST. Not a bad ODST by any means, but when you've got a misprint, you just gotta do something about it. So now this is the result. Look at that. What a difference. So that was honestly a really rough project. Like, you guys saw part of it. It got way more messy than I had anticipated. I ran out of some supplies there at the end. I really needed a like some Mod Podge that wasn't paint on. The paint on kind of left me with a funky texture a little bit. It's not horrible, and overall I'm pretty happy with the result. The finish is definitely interesting. I think the wash that I used would have been good if I did have the spray Mod Podge. As it was, I think it was a bit much maybe. We kind of have ended up with a purple color scheme, which is pretty interesting, to be honest. Not my original intention. A lot about this project really just didn't turn out the way I'd originally planned it to. But the end result, pretty darn good, I'd say. Not perfect. There are customizers who can do far, far better than I can. But hopefully this just kind of gives you a little bit of inspiration to start your own, because basically all you need is some paint and some sealer. And if you want to get real fancy and make your figure look really good, you get a head and maybe some other armor pieces from LS3D, because that right there has elevated this project a lot. As I mentioned before, the head that I was using did break. It was the one with the like panel, I don't know what that attachment is, but the one up on the forehead that broke because I was not being careful with it, and I ended up snapping it in my scrubbing paint off of it. So 3D prints are a little bit fragile sometimes, and you do have to be careful, but I highly recommend you check out some of these pieces by LS3D. They're really good. There's a quick side-by-side of both figures, the before and the after. Look at that. What a huge difference. You can completely change a figure with just some paint. And yeah, that was a lot of involved paint, but you could turn this guy into simply, I don't know, a medic by putting some red on his shoulder if you wanted to. There's really no limits to what you can do for painting. You can do as little or as much as you want, and it'll be cool either way. So there you have it. That is the end of this project. The only real thing left to do is to allow this guy's paint and top coat to fully set and cure, which apparently the Mod Podge is going to take 4 weeks, and hopefully that wasn't messed up by putting the matte top coat on. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on that. That will not be in the video for obvious reasons, but it'll just be kind of waiting. And again, I hope this just kind of gives you some inspiration to give this a try yourself. This is pretty fun. Yeah, it can be stressful, but that's just, like I said, how it goes with creative processes. Sometimes it goes really smoothly, sometimes it doesn't, but it's really worth trying out. Really, just go get yourself some paints, some paint brushes, and just start trying it out. Your first attempts will probably be pretty bad if you've never painted before. Mine were kind of crummy. Actually, no, I take that back. My very first ones were really just downright bad. So yeah, don't get discouraged. Practice makes perfect. There was a lot of mistakes that I made with this project, and a lot of things that I learned for future projects. So yeah, that is the end of this project. And again, hopefully this just gives you some of your own inspiration. Get out there and try this for yourself. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.